I am Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
And I am Tony Russo, no relation. We got all sorts of fun stuff going up. Todd and I were at the same place at different times, and we had different stories and actually opposing experiences, which is odd. And then, of course, we got St. Patrick's Day, which is happening tomorrow if you're watching this now, or already happened if you're watching it Wednesday, or is happening now if you're watching it Tuesday.
Yeah.
And the year is 2015. I'm not going to go day by day. Just trust me. It's 2015. It is nearly St. Patrick's Day, and there's that. Also, we both had little minor personal tragedies this week. We'll go over. Todd's was less minor and more tragic. Mine was more tragic only because it happened to me, but really, really minor. But let's get started. So let's talk about the HMRA Ocean City Spring Expo.
Well, it was another fantastic year at the HMRA show. I think that it's a precursor now to the season about to start for us, and we kicked it off in style. I know that you've told the story before of going to the HMRA show when you were working for the paper and then needing to go out and sleep in your car.
Always had to sleep it off. I love that. It was my favorite day of the year. My favorite work day ever.
So we had a similar but different adventure. We only went on Monday, and we went for the radio station, essentially. They had a bartender contest. I don't know if you remember last year they did a Orange Crush contest, but
right.
After somebody nearly lost a finger, they decided that they were going to change things up a little bit with the crushes.
So one of those knife contests?
Stabbing between the fingers. No, it was an interesting contest, and I not begrudgingly I stepped in to fill in for the judging portion of it. So the way that the contest worked is you had to open a beer, pour a perfect shot, make a rum and coke, and make a custom drink. And then the custom drink was judged, and then whatever the average score was, that was actually either added or subtracted to your score. So I mean, pretty involved, pretty. Yeah. It was good because it didn't really put much pressure on the judges where anybody would necessarily be pissed off at you for giving them a bad score. But yeah, so there were like 8 people involved, and they did elimination, like 2 rounds. So essentially, I had somewhere in the teens of drinks.
Wow.
And just sippers, just small little ones. But I mean, and Tony, you would have killed somebody because every custom drink, like it's the bartender's rule, make it sweet, make it pink, or something like that. So there was a lot of that, and it was just it was troubling. But that's where I had intended to go. We were going to film, we were going to show our faces, talk to some people, and then I had some editing and stuff like that to get back to. But it ended up it was 9 o'clock, and we had been to Buxy's Salty Dog and Peppers and the Pit and Pub and seen and done, or not Peppers, Mother's Cantina, and we'd seen and done just about everything, and totally forgot, neglected my responsibilities for the Todcast. So
yeah.
if that's not a viable excuse for the Todcast happy hours, I'm sorry I missed it. I was drunk.
Oh yeah, no, that's the best reason. Clearly that's the best reason.
Your audio.
I'm sorry. Do you have me?
I do.
All right. That's the best reason to miss it, of course. And it's just as we're actually working now, increasingly, these little glitches are going to happen. I had to put together. We're very busy at the paper. We put together several different products that I don't necessarily write for, but I have to put them together. And I'll tell you what, that's one of the things that I forgot how much I didn't miss, just like using InDesign to put a newspaper together for 8 hours in a row without moving.
Right.
The upside was I forgot to bring any snacks, so I just didn't eat at all. I was just And then one of the things that I've started doing is having my wife call me when she's on her way home from school, just so I know that time has passed. So she'll call and I'll be like, "Holy Christ, it's 3 o'clock already!" You know?
That's funny.
So very, very busy at the paper. But I also was at the HMRA show. I'm sorry, I want to go back. For all you bartenders listening out here, if it's dealer's choice and everybody's doing pink stuff, you can make a wet martini. Make it a little wet, because that way it's not offensive to anybody. You know, there's not that alcohol bite. If you do it right, you know, if you make a really solid wet martini, it takes the bite out of the gin and leaves the flavor.
Right.
Throw the olive in, pow. You can do that. Everyone's going to love you. If you give them a martini, they will love you. I mean, also Manhattans. Those are my 2 drinks.
Right,
I am a little biased, but like if everybody's getting like Mai Tais and you hand over a fucking Manhattan, you're classier than everyone else.
Yeah.
So,
bartending tips from the newspaper man.
Bartending tips from a real old-timey drinker guy, you know. I also, so yesterday we did a little bit of drinking. I will get to that when we get to that. I'll tell you about my HMRA story. The Brewers Association of Maryland was just hired a new guy. His name is Kevin Addict. You may remember him from the Maryland Wine Makers Association.
Okay.
And he's just apparently, do I have you?
Yep.
Okay. He is just apparently just a booze guy. He does, he does all the legislation and some of the promotion stuff. So he reached out to me the week before, actually the Wednesday before, and said, "Hey, can you come talk about beer? We're going to have the brewers there, and we're all going to talk about local beer, and it'd be cool to have you there because you're an author." Blah 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 blah. The thing about the HMRA, as you would discover 24 hours later, is everybody drinks, and nobody wants to do a goddamn thing that's not drinking or hanging out.
Right.
And so when I got there, by the time I found the place, it was just going to be Kevin and I. And okay, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because you know that it doesn't bother me. But Kevin said, "Look, we had trouble finding some brewers. We'll just do like a Q&A thing, like, I'll ask you some questions and then you answer them, and we'll go back and forth like that." And then I said, okay. And then we're setting up there. It's like, you know what? Why don't I go see if I can find some brewers? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Russo. He wrote Eastern Shore Beer, and he's here to talk about the industry on the Eastern Shore. Hands over the mic, walks away. And I'm like, I can talk. So it's my book. It's easy, right? So I spoke for maybe 25 minutes or so. There was nobody in the crowd. There were 4 people or 5 people in the crowd, and they were engaged. And I would stop at like questions, concerns, no, pushing right along. So finally, these 2 people got up and they left, and I'm like, I said, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not boring, but you are, like, it's harder to sneak out when you're the only 2 people in the crowd.
You can at least say, "Excuse me, Tony, I'm going to leave."
Exactly. And she said, "You know what? It's great. I'm really having a good time. We really do have to leave now." And it was like a 3:30, let's say, or 4 o'clock or something. It was I don't take it personal.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I got to speak with the crowd, and then I got to hang out with the guys a little bit from Backshore Brewing.
Oh, cool.
Which I believe is going to stay Backshore Brewing, but they got the Shore Billy clearance. You heard all that, right?
Yep.
It's been a while, so we haven't brought up to date on that. For those of you who don't know and have missed it, Shore Billy's was sued, so they changed the brewery's name to Backshore Brewing. Then they won a lawsuit, so now they've got all these freaking keychains that are Shore Billy keychains. They can sell them now. Oh, good for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a moral victory. It's certainly not going to change the direction that they're going.
No. And I don't recall what I had. It was like a fist pump, or I don't know. I had one of their beers. It was good. They've always made good beer. I've never had a complaint about their beers. But one of the things that they're doing is they're doing the iced tea in a bag. Have you seen this?
Yeah. We saw that when we were there on Monday. I think it's a cool idea.
I hope to do a larger feature in the coming weeks on ShoreCraftBeer.com. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to talk to them about it because it looks like it's something that they can do quickly and easily, and it's a very, and I mean this with respect, it's not derision at all, but it's like a very backdoor way to start, like, jumpstart the distilling without actually, it's malt liquor, fine,
Right.
It's not distilled, but it could be, and it's easy. It's running 4% or 6%. It's not big and heavy. I didn't try it because I would have to be choking to try alcoholic iced tea.
Yeah, I did try it, Tony, and my number one fear, especially talking about the sweetness of the drinks, was exactly that, like a sugary taste or something like that. And it tasted like regular tea. I mean, I drink green tea when I'm not drinking beer, and it was good. It was tasty and not alcohol-y or not weird or.
That's cool. And if you're still talking, you're frozen. But I probably will try it when I go out there. But I just wanted to say something mean about iced tea because that's who I am. That's why they pay me the big mean guy bucks.
Yeah.
You're back with me?
I am.
All right. So, and then recently we had the St. Patrick's Day event. Now, I was able, again, because I'm the mean guy, you said the Ocean City parade is canceled on Twitter, and then I said, oh no, now I have to clear off another Saturday to not go to the Ocean City parade. But what happens? Do they rebook it, or is it just not going to happen now?
No, it's just not going to happen. Instead of parents getting drunk on the side of the road with their kids watching drunk people in a parade, instead the kids stay home and everybody just goes out to the bars and gets drunk. So that's what we did.
Yeah, why not? And how was your weekend in that respect?
Well, it's good. We've always called St. Patrick's Day weekend our anniversary. 6 years ago is when we first ventured out and really didn't know anybody, weren't connected to any of the bars or restaurants or that sort of thing. And we had this idea of taking pictures and showing people in a positive light and, in and around town. And yeah, that's how Good Clean Fun kind of started out. This was a big event, and let's go document it. And people thought we were silly, and now it is 6 years later, and and we're. I mean, I hate to name drop, but we're getting tours of the new bar at Secrets by the higher ups, and we're brought up on stage to be able to take video of the crowd, and I mean, it's cool. We've done we've worked hard at maintaining and developing a good reputation of being able to document drunk people without jeopardizing the people or the establishments. And I don't know, it's turned into a business. So yes, so it was our 6-year anniversary. We just took some couple of fun pictures. There's a post up on goodcleanfunlife.com, and we'll have a little video, just a little GoPro video that we'll put out. It's fun because it's low pressure for us right now.
One of the things that I forgot to mention that I had gotten accomplished on the weekend is I went out and I took my own photos of drunk people at the gala for the first Saturday in Salisbury. I don't know how much you've heard about this.
I know that there's a couple different movements going on there.
Yeah, it's first Saturday concert series. The town's behind it. They're raising money, and also whatever they don't raise, the town is kicking in for now. And they're going to have family-friendly concerts every first Saturday. So it's third Friday for art, first Saturday for music. And they had a fundraising gala at the I always call it the Firehouse because I can't remember what it's called.
Headquarters Live?
Headquarters Live. At the Firehouse.
It's at the Firehouse.
So yeah. So they had and it was packed. It was packed. I got there while Chris English was playing.
Oh, nice.
Always a pleasure to listen to. And I got to go up on stage and take pictures. No one invited me. I just,
That's the difference between you and me. I've worked for years to develop a good reputation, and you just walk up.
I've worked for years to develop the kind of bearing that says, you know what, let's just leave him alone because I would rather not deal with him than deal with him. That's what people say about me behind my back. You know what's easier? Just if it gets in your way, then we'll have to deal with it. But for now, he doesn't seem to be hurting anyone, and the quicker he's done, the quicker he leaves. So very exciting though to see this the first Saturday. Hopefully I'll be able to go. I'm expecting to be able to go. It is April. I can't see because I took my glasses off. But the first, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4th. It looks like it'll be April 4th. Will be the first one.
Okay.
Very excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, that's cool. We actually caught up with Jesse Campbell, who's of course up there, and
I saw him. Yeah.
Been talking about that, so I know that he'll be involved in that as well. So that's always good stuff.
Okay, and now we move to the tragedies.
Yes, yeah, very very sad. Why don't you start with yours?
Okay, so once upon a time, I decided that I was going to hold Varmint Fest, and we had discussed this. It's got to be 3 years ago now, maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was still at the paper, so it was a while ago. And since then, I haven't been able to remember to do it because just February happened so quickly, and then March happened so quickly. And this year was no different. I got to do the story that we talked about. I talked to a muskrat trapper. I'm like, all right, yes, let's go. We're going to have Varmint Fest. And then things got busy at work, and I looked up, and it was over. Like, the season was over. And so I said, I called around in Cambridge. I called the high spot, and they're like, no, but there's this little restaurant called Emily's or something out in the back of beyond of Cambridge. They have muskrats. So I called them. They're like, sorry, we had our last muskrat night on Thursday. We don't have any more muskrats. And I said, okay, well, no big deal. And I was just like, oh, well, I lose. And then I went to lunch. And while I was at lunch, someone called and said they're having a muskrat dinner at the Elliott's Island Methodist Church. Do you know where Elliott's Island is?
No, I don't. I've never heard of it.
It's about 100 yards from Annapolis on this side. It's out at the end of Cambridge. It's just you drive to the end of nowhere and then go 3 more blocks, and then it's there. It's you've heard of Vienna, Maryland?
Yeah.
Yes, it is 20 miles east of Vienna, sticking right out into the chop tank there.
Okay.
And so I looked it up on the internet, and because I called the church and there was no answer, and I looked it up on the internet and it said, March 15th, muskrat dinner, blah 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 blah, 1 to 4. And then I posted, as you saw on Facebook, hey, Varmint Fest is back on. This is the time, this is the place. I'm going. Let me know if you're coming as well. One of my former colleagues from the paper came, Greg Mackey, who's just an awesome, long-suffering guy. And so I drove out to where I thought Elliott's Island was, and I couldn't find it. So I turned around, and because I didn't have any signal and I didn't have any internet, it was that far out. There was no signal, no internet. So I had to drive back to Vienna, which was 20 minutes. So I drove about 20 minutes away from Vienna, turned around, drove 20 minutes back just to get enough signal to see where I should go. And it said, oh, you should have driven 21 minutes. It was like you gave up just short. And so I called Mackie, and I'm like, I'm on my way. And he's like, I was there, and there was a church, but there were no cars or anything in front of it. And I'm like, all right, well, come on back to Vienna. We'll figure it out. Now, the other thing that happened was the night before, once I had committed to going to this Varmint Fest in Elliott's Island, was Chef Patrick Fanning of the High Spot. We are Facebook friends, and his wife became my Facebook friend so that she could tell me, no, we still have plenty of muskrat left. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, we were already committed to this thing. So we get to Elliott's Island. There's no muskrat. We go back, and there's no other way to say it. We went to the gas station, and for the first time in my life, I was praying to find a white person behind the counter of the gas station. Generally, it doesn't matter to me what color the gas station person was, but if there was a white person behind the gas station counter and it's the only gas station in Vienna, then they know where I'm going to find the muskrat thing, right? And I went in there, and there was a Pakistani face, and I'm like, I'm looking for a muskrat dinner, and he's like, no.
No.
I don't know if he meant no, I'm not, like if he was trying to Jedi mind trick me or whatever, but no. There was this young woman who had just finished vacuuming her car, and I look at her, I'm like, do you live here? And she's like, yeah. I said, I'm looking for a muskrat dinner. We went to the Elliot's Island. It was supposed to be at the Elliot's Island United Methodist Church. And she looks at me and she goes, oh, you didn't drive out there. And I'm like, yeah, we did. And she's like, let me make a couple phone calls. So she gets in her car because the wind is blowing, and she calls around, and she said, I think it was yesterday. And I was like, no, look, it says March 15th. And she said, oh, yeah, that was last year. So they had it on Saturday, not on Sunday. But my buddy Chef Patrick, he's got muskrat. He's Greg's buddy, too. We're almost to Cambridge. Greg lives in Cambridge. Let's just drive to Cambridge. So we drive to the High Spot. Have you eaten at the High Spot?
Yeah, I love the High Spot. Oh. They do great stuff.
So we drive to the High Spot, and the waiter comes, and I apologize in advance because I don't want my food spitting. I'm like, okay, listen. I said, I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to give me an answer to it that I'm not going to like, and I appreciate that, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and then I'm going to ask you to double check. And I'm like, okay. I wanted to know if you guys had any muskrat, and he said no. I said, I knew that's what you were going to say. Now, I was supposed to come and get muskrat someplace else. I had mentioned it on Facebook, and then Chef Patrick hit me up and said, no, we do have muskrat. Just come on in and ask for muskrat. I said, so if you have a muskrat, tell them to throw it on. We want a muskrat to share for the table. And then based on whether or not you have muskrat, we will choose other things to eat. So you go do that and bring us some beer. Now, kids, listen carefully, especially if you're in the Cambridge area. All-day happy hour at the High Spot on Sundays. So You're talking $4 pints of the best beer in the region. The best beer in the country, one at a time.
Yeah, all day long, and then like $6 sandwiches or something like that.
Something like that. I don't know. I didn't have the sandwich. I had the beer, and the beer was very good. I had I don't remember. I had two beers. They were both very good. They weren't local beers. One was a Maryland beer. No, I don't remember. You know what? I don't remember. It's in my Untapped. Follow me on Untapped. OSSURYNOT. Check it out for yourself.
There you go.
So anyway, kid comes back. He's like, no, I checked and checked. We really don't have muskrat. I'm like, fine. I ordered the buffalo oysters. They were perfectly acceptable. Greg had a hamburger. And my daughter, Megan, now, I'll share a little bit of a financial story about me. I believe in small local banks, just like small local everything else.
Sure.
And one of the downsides, though, is that they have a cap on how much you can spend in a day because they don't want to get screwed if your card gets stolen. So I had just paid my daughter's tuition, and we left to go to this thing, and I stopped for cash, and they're like, no, you can't get any cash for 24 more hours. And I'm like, oh, no. So the poor kid had to buy me lunch. I felt very bad about that. But she was a trooper, and she did. So then we went to the High Spot, which can be pricey, and I'm like, did you bring your credit card by any chance? And she's like, yeah, but as it turned out, we got out of there for like $30, $40. We were out the door.
For three of you.
For three of us. And I had 2 beers, and Mackie had 2 beers. And Megan actually had ordered a green tea, and he brought back a tea tray, like choose your own adventure tea. So that was very cool. We're sitting there, we're eating, and we're talking about muskrat, because that's what I talk about all the time now. And Mackie says to me, well, you know, they had this thing at Stoke last week. They had the Muskrat Festival, and then it rained, so they went back and they had it at Stoked. And I said, Stoked? Who? Bless you. And I said, Stoked? I said, Fanning owns Stoked too, doesn't he? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I wonder if they meant...
Oh, no. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And ask for muskrat. So, kids, they have muskrat at Stoked. I don't know if I'll be going back to Cambridge anytime in the near future. But there you have it.
The misadventures of Tony Russo in search of muskrat on Varmint Fest. You know, what's interesting is actually on a Sunday brunch, we were over at our friend Jenny and Joey's house. They just bought a nice house over in West Ocean City, and some people there brought it up and were talking about muskrat, and I had a lot to add to the conversation based on our history together. So
you'd be surprised what you learn.
Yeah.
And so that was the Varmint Fest that never was. I may still be able to get some from Chef Patrick next Saturday. If I can, I will eat them by myself in my house. I will smash in the brains and eat the brains. I will cut out the tongue and eat the tongue, as I've been told I should do by people who know this shit.
If anybody is going to make muskrat, if I'm ever going to sit with you eating muskrat again, it would have to be Chef Patrick Fanning that would make it, because he's, you know, I trust him.
He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing in other culinary realms, and I can only assume that he can apply that somewhat to the black swamp meat of muskrat.
Black swamp meat. And so that was a tragedy of my weekend. And you had like a more, I mean, not legitimate tragedy, but a sadder weekend.
It's one of those things that we knew it was coming. The tavern on at the boardwalk, 16th Street, has been a playground for the misfits and and the people that don't belong anywhere else. All seem to filter into there. Jay Frank has been, the manager there for as long as I've ever known the place, which is, a short time, and it's been around for a while. But, quality, original music. There's really has never been any other place where you could go see a punk band or an up and coming band. I mean, even to the back of the point where lower class citizens were fresh out of Stephen Decatur and actually had a little bit of momentum behind them and a little bit of talent, and they would play there. And it's a real shame that it's closing down. And what's most hurtful is, like I said, we knew it was going to close. It got bought out by the Hyatt. The owner,
Marriott.
No.
It's a Hyatt. Sorry, you're right.
I'm right. The owner passed away suddenly back in the fall, which was kind of crazy too. And so basically, we thought we were all going to have one last summer, and we were going to be able to enjoy it. We'll have a last party. Well, as they do every year, they had a New Year's Eve party and shut down. The whole crew goes to somewhere tropical for a month or two. So that happened, but this week we found out that because of problems with the owner's estate, they're not going to be able to reopen. And
that's why I'm going to die poor, kids.
Yeah, it's and it's actually been kind of amazing. Not an outpouring, but just the insurgent of photos that have come out from the tavern, and it's everybody's putting their stories up. I mean, people have met their wives, their now wives there. People have launched music careers there. People have gotten in fights and broken noses, and
it's nice to see that people care.
Yeah, it's neat. I mean, and there really isn't a place that I've ever experienced that's similar to that, unless you look at like some real legitimate place, like the old 930 Club, or they always talk about like CBGBs, and obviously that's a much larger scale. But in our little realm down here, it really was important to a lot of people, and and I don't think that diminishes the how important it is, and that the passing of it is pretty sad, I guess. And everybody's been real positive. It's like, oh, it's the people, but the place was underneath of the boardwalk. It had 6-foot ceilings at one end and 7-foot ceilings at the other end. There were tons of dark corners. Like, you'll never be able to replicate that the actual structure that's in there, and it really did lend itself to just sort of whole vibe that was there. So
Now,
I'm sure.
Is there any word on what's coming next?
There, I mean, at that location or for at the location, yeah, a Hyatt is going in there, and they're going to be so the whole Seascape Motel, which is also kind of sad because it's one of the oldest hotels in that's still standing in Ocean City. I mean, if you care about that sort of thing, but they're coming in, new hotel, and the liquor license will transfer to that. So there'll be some, Jimmy Buffett, palm tree themed,
You know what? I'm going to shock the hell out of you right now, right? I don't mind Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
I think of all the people to pick on, why pick on him? I mean,
Jimmy Buffett's a good guy.
It's like there's no qualifying. We've had this to say. There's no qualifying pop music. If it's pop music, it's probably not great.
Right.
But if the guy is, hey, you know what I'm going to do for a living? I'm going to be a beach bar band, and I'm going to get stoned all the time. And then he does. It's not like he used to make this like really artsy avant-garde stuff, and now he's like, oh no, I'm just going to ride the Margaritaville. Margaritaville sounds like all the songs. They all sound like that. It's not his fault. That's what he does.
Right. Well, and it's more from the perspective of I don't think anybody thought what the art that was coming out of the tavern was avant-garde or worth anything. It was just theirs, and it was bad, and it was, and it was dirty and gritty and punk rock.
Right.
So, I think it was,
yeah. What I'm saying is if they're not going to keep it, then it may as well be a margarita. What does it matter?
Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, so that will be a sad one for sure. But you know what? We'll see what happens. We carry on. I'm more interested to see what happens. The guys who have been working there have been working there for years and years, and it's hard to imagine them someplace else. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they may have to, only because like Hyatt's not.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could. I'm sure that they would be. I'm not saying that they're not competent enough, but I think that they may not have any idea how many rules Hyatt has.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. At this point, they'll be demo and rebuilding the place anyway. So I think it's probably unlikely that they'll stay at that location, even the guys working there. But yeah, who knows?
Who knows? And so I have to go. I got more stuff to do because that's how busy I am.
Hey, all right, that's cool.
Mr. Popularity. So what do we got coming up this week? Anything worth talking about?
Well, the big thing is the Starboard opening weekend is this weekend, so that we'll be up there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and I'll tell you about that next week. But we might have our stuff on the 10-foot big screens up there under the big top, so that might be fun.
Very cool. Well, and I need to remind everybody, this is Third Friday. This will be one of the last Third Friday that's inside. Next Third Friday starts the outside Third Friday. So this Third Friday, inside, but still plenty of stuff going on down in Salisbury. There always is if you're into that kind of thing. And that's all I got for now. How about you?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, may Todd give you the sense to live in a small town.
We'll see you next week at Happy Hour.